Important update to narcissistic abuse recovery. If you've been traumatized by a narcissist or a borderline, you need to watch this video. I'm going to be sharing with you new information about how to heal from narcissistic abuse. Hello and welcome back to the channel. So, everybody who follows my suggestions sees healing. In some cases, most cases, they see complete recovery. So if you're watching my channel, if you've been watching my channel for months or years and you haven't followed my suggestions, there's a reason why your pain won't go away. So as I've said over and over again, if you have been in one of these narcissistically abusive relationships, you have been infected with narcissistic devaluation syndrome. Now that's something that I have made up because the word codependence bothers people because it sounds like, they take it as a personal insult. If I call you a codependent, people think that I'm calling them a bad person. This is what happens when you're infected by narcissistic devaluation. The first thing that you do is you respond from a desire to protect your reputation. Because what's the first thing that narcissistic people do? They attack you. They tell you you're not good enough. That I would love you if only you did this, and you don't do this perfectly. You're broken. You're not perfect. So when somebody comes along and uses the phrase codependence, people take that as some kind of an attack. So I'm not using that word anymore because it's really not an accurate word, because the term codependence, it doesn't mean that. Codependence used to mean originally the partner of a dependent person. So you're the co of a dependent. But people hear the word dependence and they go, I'm not dependent, I'm super independent, which by the way is a sign of codependence, when you're chronically, isolated and super independent. You're doing that because you can't tolerate being in a cooperative relationship with somebody. It's a sign of narcissistic devaluation. Narcissistic devaluation destroys your ability to love yourself, to value yourself, and to hold yourself in relationship to others. So you either gravitate between constantly trying to fix the other person and seeking their approval, or you run away and you avoid people. It's two sides of the same coin. So the idea is to be able to be completely comfortable within yourself to such a degree that you're okay. You're not only okay, you love being with your own spirit. You also love being with other people. That's the sign of somebody who's healthy. If you're on either side of that spectrum, it means that there's some healing that needs to happen. So let's get rid of that phrase, codependence. I'm replacing it with narcissistic devaluation syndrome. You've been victimized, you've been devalued, and you operate from a base operational status of wanting to be good enough to get somebody else's approval. So again, my definition of this narcissistic devaluation syndrome is that you get your feeling of lovability, your feeling of relevance, your feeling of value based on something external, like what you do for other people, or something external like how you look, how much money you have, as opposed to getting your value, your lovability, your relevance simply from existing. And there is literally nothing more that you can do that will make you more lovable than you already are. Nothing. There is nothing you can do that will make you more valuable than you are right now. If you don't have that feeling, then it means you've been narcissistically devalued. And if you follow my suggestions, you can heal yourself of that. You can reverse that. You can be so comfortable with yourself and so happy, you never have to watch my channel again. So if you're watching my channel over and over again and you haven't followed all of my suggestions, then let's get into what we can do about that. So the first thing that I want to suggest is, instead of going to coda.org, go to ppgrecoveredcodependence.org. Don't let the name bother you. Again, you're not codependent. You have narcissistic devaluation syndrome. You've been devalued by a narcissist. That's okay. It's completely reversible. It has nothing to do with your essence. There's nothing wrong with you. The reason why I'm suggesting this is because CODA, I suggested this early on because I worked the 12 steps in another 12-step program. And it is a program where they're very aggressive about sponsoring you. So from the moment you walk in, and it's an anonymous program, which is why I'm not telling you what it is. I'm following instructions. But when you walk into this anonymous program and people find out that you're new, the first thing that happens is that there's 3 or 4 people that walk up to you and give you their phone number and say, give me a call, I want to sponsor you. And so it's very hard to be in that program and not know that you need to have a sponsor to recover. And it's also pounded into your head that if you don't work the steps, you have this syndrome within you that will destroy you. And we're here to help. So CODA is notorious for being really bad at sponsoring people. In fact, they make it really difficult. They make you jump through a bunch of hoops and you have to go to a certain number of meetings. And then my experience is that they're very reticent to sponsor. And to me, that's just narcissistic devaluation syndrome. They're stuck in it. So I suggest going to this group, ppgrecoveredcodependence.org, because they have reformed it and gone back to just working the 12 steps and working the 12 steps as they were written, as opposed to what CODA does, which is they create all these long, intellectualized, it's just very long and drawn out. So that's the first thing. Second thing I want to ask you is, do you want to be happier in your life? So I want you to ask yourself an honest question. Are you happy? Do you want to be happier? It's better that you ask yourself that question than to respond from me telling you, here's what you need to do. Because if you have narcissistic devaluation syndrome, then your first response is to rebel against anybody who gives you suggestions, because you take that as a personal assault, because your narcissistic abuser was constantly telling you what was wrong with you and what you needed to do to meet their standards. So if I come along, even though I do have the answer and know exactly what you can do to be recovered and happy, if I say, here's what you need to do this, your first response is to rebel against that and say, I'm not going to do that. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do my own blah, blah, blah. But if you have narcissistic devaluation syndrome, you're not thinking clearly because you're in a state of PTSD. And it's a state of PTSD that never goes away unless you solve the root problem, which is, again, finding your worth within yourself. Now, you're going to say, well, I'm going to go do that myself. Well, the problem is you can't do that because you can't, your mind is not functioning rationally. So you can't take an irrational mind and use it to become rational. An irrational mind is incapable of functioning rationally. But there are really specific, easy things that you can do, very simple, that will simply switch that off. It will switch the syndrome off long enough for you to think rationally and take actions. So if you want to heal, the first question you should be asking yourself is, do you want to be happier in your life? So don't worry about whether or not I'm telling you what to do. Start from that. Do you want to be happier? The next thing I'm going to suggest that you do, which is not on the list, but this has been absolutely phenomenal. I've been doing this on my other channel. I've been doing it twice a week, and it has absolutely revolutionized people's experience of themselves and reality. So I'm not going to get into what that means on this video, but go here to my other channel, which is Thunder Wizard, here at YouTube, at Thunder Wizard. And I have these live guided interdimensional meditations which go on every Wednesday and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. This is done live. If you can come to the live guided meditation, do. But they're uploaded and they are archived. So you can go and watch any of the, click on the live section on my YouTube channel, the Thunder Wizard channel, and watch any of the pre-recorded live guided interdimensional meditations. This will completely shift you. And what we're doing is we're doing something that's never been done before. And again, I'm not going to take the time to do it, but it is absolutely life-changing. If you do that in combination with what I'm suggesting that you do in this video, I guarantee you, let me refresh that. I guarantee you, you will see massive, perhaps complete healing of your narcissistic devaluation syndrome. All right, let's get back to this video. So first, ask yourself if you want to be happier in life. Ask yourself this: are you thinking about your narc or BPDX? You know, look, as I've said, narcissistic devaluation syndrome is an infection. It will not go away on its own. It's an infection that tells you you don't have an infection. Now, when you get, a splinter, every time you grab something, or if it's in your foot, you step on something, you feel it. So you can't deny that it's there. You find yourself, going with a magnifying glass and tweezers and you get rid of it. But when you have narcissistic devaluation syndrome, it's already built in there for you to deny that you have it. So, and part of that is people only do partial work to recover themselves, which means they end up in a state of quasi-recovery. They convince themselves. Here's the phrase: I'm mostly healed. I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of work on myself. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm much better. This is what happens when you've only got half of the splinter out. The other half is still in there, burrowing itself in there and creating an infection. So you're either healed or you're not. If you're healed, you know it. Some people lie and say that they're healed, but again, they've got narcissistic devaluation syndrome. They want to look good, and they want to look good to themselves. So it's more important for them what you think about them than about how they feel. And again, you had to do that to survive, because with your narcissistic abuser, you had to at least pretend that you knew what to do to make them happy, even if you didn't. And if you said you didn't know, you got beat up for that. But if you said, no, I know exactly what to do, I'm on it, then at least they might leave you alone for the time being. So there's no such thing as partial recovery. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have issues. All people have issues. But in other words, as I've said before, and I've had people call me a liar for this. They've gotten angry with me and called me a liar, but it's the truth. I did the one thing that I tell you to do on this channel. I did the one thing thoroughly, completely, repeatedly. And what ended up happening is I'm completely, totally cured of that narcissistic relationship. I'm not lying to you when I say I can't remember her name. Give me a second. Okay, I remembered it. It took me a little while. That's how far removed. It's not that I'm in denial about it. It's not that I don't know that the relationship happened. I just have zero wound attached to it. I don't have any wound. I have no anger towards her. I'm not weeping, wishing that I could fix her, and I only want her to be happy. I don't care if she's happy or not. I don't wish her anything bad. I'm not angry with her. I don't want her to get help. I don't want her to experience and know what I went through. I don't want for there to be some kind of justice. I don't care. I don't know if she's alive or dead. I have no idea. And I don't care. And it's not like I'm trying to avoid it. If I found out that she was doing great, I'd be happy for her. If I found out that she wasn't doing great, well, that's too bad. I would still, nothing. Do you want that? It's like when you get a cold. Can you remember every single time that you've had the flu? How many times have you had the flu in your life? Or some other illness that goes away? It's horrible when you have it. Like, it's the worst thing. You've never felt so horrible in your life. Oh my God, you feel like you're going to die. And then your body heals, you get over it, and a couple weeks later you're like, did I have the flu? Oh yeah, I guess I did. Oh yeah, I remember that wasn't so good. Anyway, what were we talking about again? You don't care. In fact, you'll forget. You'll forget that it ever happened to you because you're completely healed. If you're still thinking about it, it means that you're still wounded. It means you're still infected. All right, so Are you thinking about your narc or your BPD ex? Are you ruminating about the sex? Oh my God, the sex was the best. Do you wish that you could go back to that relationship for the sex? I'm going to tell you something. It wasn't as good as you remember. It wasn't about the sex. It was about the intense need that they were experiencing. Now, the thing about borderlines especially is that they dissociate from anything intense, and they dissociate from their own feelings of need and love. When they're having sex with you, the reason why it's so good is because they're coming from a very deep place of need, which creates an intimacy. Of course, it makes them animals in bed, really good, really intuitive, they're amazing. But because they dissociate from any intense feelings, they forget about it. Not only do they forget about it, but then they go back and they tell themselves that they didn't like it. You know, my borderline ex was an absolute nymph. Completely, I mean, I've never to this day experienced anything as intense as and sexual, and you know, she was just amazing. And literally every time, as soon as we were done and we've gone and cleaned up and we're lying down, and she would then say, yeah, I really don't like sex that much. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was very hurtful because I thought we had this beautiful bonding experience. But of course it was bonding, which is why in her head she's telling herself it wasn't very good and she didn't like it. And then when I got her to get honest, she would say, you know, if I really think about it, I wasn't really there, meaning she was dissociated. I could see that somebody was somebody that looked like me was having a really intense good time, but I was just watching it from afar. They're dissociating. You think you're with the real person, you're not. So if you're thinking about how great the sex was, guess what? She wasn't there. There was nobody home. It wasn't as good as you thought. But you want to be with that person when they're in that need, that intense, intimate need for intimacy. That's what you're craving. That person never experienced it. They weren't home. Are you thinking about how to get them into therapy? Let me read some. You guys don't need to feel bad about this because people come onto the channel and they're new to the channel, and so they don't watch all the videos, and so they don't follow all my suggestions because they don't know what they are yet. So somebody asked, what's the difference between BPD and CPTSD? Assuming this is somebody who doesn't have BPD, you're only asking this question because you're trying to figure out what BPD is. Why would you want to figure that out? Because you want your borderline to love you, and that you think if you can figure it out, then you can fix them. You can tell them what it is, they'll listen to you, and then they'll turn around and love you. Because you're not asking, what do I need to do to heal? You're talking about them. So listen in these comments how the majority of people commenting are talking about the borderline. They're not talking about how to heal themselves. They're talking about how to fix the borderline. Again, the reason why you want to fix the borderline isn't because you love them. I know you feel that, but that's not why. The reason why you want to fix them is because if you can fix them, then you can get them to love you. So take a listen. So again, this person is asking about the BPD. This person doesn't say, how can I heal from the intense pain? Nobody ever asked me that question, which is really why they're there. They're in a lot of pain. Okay, that person goes on and on and on. Huge paragraph about what the person did to them, when they were with them for years and years and years, and no matter what they did, the person did this, and this person says they tried to. Anyway, I don't want to make somebody feel bad if they're new to the channel, so I won't psychoanalyze them. This person asks an interesting question. I thought the borderline was drawn to what they don't have, i.e. a strong sense of self as them, and they're like chameleons and they'll mirror us and suck us dry of our sense of self. And my response was, that's part of it. What's your point? In other words, he's not asking about himself. He's not, or herself. How can I heal myself? I thought the borderline was this. I thought the borderline was that. When has talking about another person ever helped you? The only people that do that are people who are suffering from narcissistic devaluation syndrome. Because when you're narcissistically devalued, you're completely focused on the other person because you want their love and approval. And you think if you can figure them out and fix them, they'll finally turn around and love you. So this person wants to, wait a minute, I thought you said that the borderline is this and the borderline is that. I thought this, not, how can I be happy? That's why I asked you in the beginning. Do you want to be happier? That's what you should be focusing on, not them. Let's see. This person goes, no, this person doesn't go on for very long. Okay, so this person says, I need this, meaning the video. I went from a narc to a borderline for a long time. I'm on my own. I'm learning so much about myself. No, you're not. This is part of the delusion of narcissistic devaluation syndrome is you think when you're alone and you're wrapped up in all of your thoughts and your feelings, you think that you are learning. And people will say this, I just want to learn more about myself. It's meaningless. Self-knowledge accomplishes nothing. It is masturbation. You are simply distracting yourself from the pain, but you're telling yourself you're accomplishing something. How do I know that? I healed myself within a couple of months, completely healed. How many months, how many years are you working on yourself? How many months or years are you spending learning about yourself and why your mother did this and you did that? It's not accomplishing anything. Do you want to be happier? Do you want to be free of pain? If the answer is yes, then whatever you're doing isn't working. This person says, definitely a codependent. Again, I'm going to change that to narcissistically devalued syndrome. Going on my journey to finally put an end to the cycle of playing out my childhood over and over again. Well, it's a skipping record. Narcissistic devaluation syndrome is a skipping record. I've talked about it in other videos. So it doesn't go away. And no amount of self-examination will do anything for you. It's like say, if you've got an infection, you get stung by a bee or scratched by a cat and it gets all pussed up and infected. Looking at the infection and reading about the infection and watching videos about the infection isn't going to make the infection go away. Taking more vitamin C, sleeping more, working out, none of those things are going to make the infection going away. What will make the infection go away is if you take the antibiotics. It'll go away within hours. So spending time working on yourself, looking at yourself, doing the shadow work, it doesn't work. It does not heal you. Take the medication and you'll be healed. Follow my suggestions. Do the one thing. By the way, if you don't know what that means, people go, what is the one thing? Don't be lazy. Being lazy will get you manipulated. The first thing I do when I go onto a YouTube channel and I hear somebody talk about something and I can tell that they're talking about something, they use a phrase over and over again that I can tell, they're talking about something that they do. I will then take that phrase, I'll go to their YouTube channel page, and I will search in their YouTube channel for that phrase. So learn how to do that. If you don't know how to search within a YouTube channel, go on to Google, it's real simple, and just type in how to search within somebody's YouTube channel on whatever device you have. Android, iPhone, iPad, MacBook, whatever it is. And then you'll find out. And you can, with the amount of time that it would take to type in what is the one thing and then wait around for me to respond, days or weeks later, just within seconds you can find out. So don't be lazy. What is the one thing? I'm not going to do the work for you. Go type it in. You'll find out. This person going on their journey finally to put the end of playing out my childhood over and over again, wanting to start therapy again. So let me tell you something. Therapy won't work. I'm sorry. For borderlines, DBT therapy works if they commit to it. Go to regular DBT therapy, go to regular DBT group therapy, and if they do the workbook, exercises out of the workbook every day. For borderlines, that therapy I know will work. For people who've been narcissistically devalued, there is no therapy that works. So don't waste your money. I'm telling you, as somebody who I was in therapy for over 30 years. I went to group therapy for over 30 years. And I saw with my own eyes that there were people that went to therapy and only went to therapy and they never healed. Therapy accomplishes nothing. Now that, I can't speak for all therapies. Like I said, DBT therapy works really well in some instances. Maybe if you have a really good therapist who understands the 12 steps and they get you into 12 steps, and therapy along with 12 steps, that's another story. But therapy by itself never heals narcissistic devaluations because you have an untreated infection. You have to treat the infection first. Then you can spend your time learning about yourself. Anyway, let's see what else. So, a lot of people are new. Let's talk about this one for a second. This person says, apparently DBT is good at preventing self-harm, meaning in borderlines, but getting them to stop impulsively jumping from one relationship to the next is not what DBT does. And I responded and I said, you're wrong. And I went into my reasons for that. But what I know from this response is that this person doesn't understand that, number one, that they are the ones that need to be healed. They think they're wanting to know. This tells me that the person wants to know what they can do to fix the borderline. Because if they can fix the borderline, then they can get the borderline to love them. So what's happened is they weren't able to get their borderline to love them. The other part of this is that they have to be committed to the therapy for years, maybe even a decade, before you see any real results. It's because BPD is a serious mental illness. It's a serious disease. It doesn't go away in the first couple of months. It's not like suffering from narcissistic devaluation syndrome, where if you do the one thing, you can be healed within a couple of months. It's not like that. BPD is a whole other deal. So let's continue. I'll go deeper into that. This person says, it's so painful. I just want to help my BPD partner. So let me finish this. It's so painful. I just want to help my BPD partner. I love her so much. All I desire is to help her live a happy and stable life. They go on to say what I'm about to say, so kudos to them for that. But you realize that none of that has to do with you. You're not thinking about how to make yourself happy. But here's the ironic twist. The truth of the matter is that the love that you think you feel for them, when all you can think about is how to fix them, how to help them be happy, isn't accurate. What's really happening underneath that is that you have been narcissistically devalued to believe that your lovability comes from being able to fix somebody else. You have an intense amount of love, but that love is actually a combination of your own regressed childhood need for your parents to love you, as well as a deep-seated fear of being rejected. And, little kids, when they're on the verge of being rejected, they feel a lot of love, which is really attachment, need. So you're conflating your need to be loved with love for the other person. So all of the work that you've done to try and make her happy is really trying to get her happy, because then she'll be able to turn around and love you. It's the only reason you're doing that. You think you're sacrificing yourself for them. And I know that's how it feels to you, but it's not true. Everything you're doing is to get them to love you. And the sad part of the dynamic is they never will. They never do. And that keeps you attached to them because you have an untreated wound from your childhood. But the good news is, unlike the borderline, who's going to take them 8 to 10 years of hard work before they even begin to have the ability to know what's going on with them and to be able to act in a loving fashion, you can be healed within a couple of months if you turn off the narcissistic devaluation syndrome that's running off in your head. It's a program. Again, this is why therapy doesn't work. You go to therapy and you think you indulge in this masturbatory, my mom did this and I felt that and this is how I respond, and you think you're accomplishing something, but you're not. You're accomplishing absolutely nothing. And the whole time you're still infected. The pain never goes away. I've made some progress. I'm mostly healed. Nonsense. You're either healed or you're not. Is there pus coming out of there? Oh, 90% of the pus is gone, but it's still red. And if I squish it, yeah, there's a little bit of pus right there. You're not healed. You've just dampened a few of the symptoms. So anyway, this person goes on to say that they're going to work on themselves, but again, I can tell. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I can tell it's not going to take unless you do the one thing. So do the one thing and be healed. I could go on and on and on, but this is, I'm looking at all of these comments, and all these people are doing is talking about the other person. They're not talking about themselves. And if they do talk about themselves, they don't really, they're in that hamster wheel where they can't get the problem fixed. In any case, the guy has showed up to inconveniently mow my lawn. By the way, I was woken up early this morning by somebody who thought it was a good idea on a Saturday morning, right after dawn, to go and mow their lawn. I don't know why they did that. That was annoying. In any case, my friends, are you ruminating about them? Are you thinking about getting them into therapy, or do you want revenge? Are you watching my channel for longer than 6 months? If you are, you're not healed. Follow my suggestions and be healed. Are you working the 12 steps with a sponsor? So don't bother going to Coda, because unless you're in Coda and you got a sponsor and things are working for you, which is great. If it works, don't fix it. But if you haven't been able to get a sponsor in Coda, go to ppgrecoveredcodependence.org and you'll be able to get a sponsor very quickly. And you have to work the 12 steps with a sponsor. So just reading the 12 steps and then saying I worked the 12 steps isn't. You have to actually do it with another person who's done it. And do you want complete freedom from your pain? Do you want to be mostly healed, or do you want to be 100% healed? If you follow my suggestions, I guarantee you can be healed if you suffer from narcissistic devaluation syndrome. And lastly, again, I want to invite you to my other channel, the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. It's now just at ThunderWizard. And I invite you to these live guided interdimensional meditations. I'm going to do one today. This is Saturday. I do them every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And, if you're ready to connect to higher dimensions and if you want to be part of this tremendous shift that is going on the planet is completely shifting. If you want to get on the fast track and have, and the people who've done these meditations, I've seen them completely, totally transform. I'm going to even go out on a limb here and say that even people who suffer from a personality disorder, a mental illness like BPD or NPD, if they do these meditations, there's a possibility they can heal. I'm not going to guarantee it. I just know what I've seen. So everybody, whoever you are, whether you're borderline or whether you're recovering partner of a narcissist or a borderline, come to these live guided interdimensional meditations on my Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. Again, sorry for the noise in the background. All right, that's it, my friends. I wish you all the best. I will see you all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves.